Are we
Re- Says we're recording.
perfect? All right. Well, our resolution is be it resolved that tuition-free education at public colleges and universities be funded in California for all degree programs to ensure equitable access to higher education. And up first with the pro opening statement is Ethan.
So today we gather to discuss not just a policy issue, but a matter that touches the very heart of our society's future. This debate is about choices that define who we are and what we value. It's about the stark contrast between funding an ambitious railway project, unneeded infrastructure and expenditures, and investing in the very foundation of our nation, which is education. So I stand here today to argue for a future where college is free within California, where the burdens of debt do not interfere with our lives and our pursuits for our dreams, and giving an opportunity for all Californians, not just a privilege, but a right to education. So now I ask of you to imagine for a moment a young, brilliant individual with a passion for healing, apprehensive from pursuing medical school by the very essence of excessive financial burden through crippling debt. This is not a rare scenario, but a common dilemma facing countless students across the nation. The fear of accumulating debt up to $400,000, a figure provided by KSBY News interview with Dr. Robert Johnson, showcases that it's not just a number, it's a barrier to dreams, to potential, and obstruction towards addressing the cause of much needed medical professionals, especially within our state of California. So, as I speak here today, our communities face a dire shortage of healthcare providers, a situation perpetuated by financial barriers to medical education. People in need of care are unable to find doctors or specialists because the fear of debt has kept countless potential physicians from entering the field. So now imagine you yourself needing a doctor or someone you know of needing care for, but are unable to access the necessary care due to lack of medical providers. So I ask, what does it say about our values when we allocate billions to an abyssal railway project or prioritize expenditures that do not provide benefits to all, but yet leave our health and our future to languish in waiting rooms of understaffed hospitals? The consequences of student debt extend far and beyond than just the medical field. They seep into the very essence of the mental well-being of students across California, causing emotional distress that plagues their entire educational journey in academia, and even outside post-academia. The mental health impact is substantial. Anxiety, depression, even suicidal thoughts are exacerbated by the financial strains of student loans, as noted by Moore et al. In their studies regarding financial stress of college students. So I ask of you just for a moment to imagine the relief, the freedom, the sheer potential that could be unleashed if students were liberated from this burden. They could pursue their dreams without fear, anxiety, depression, bringing in new innovations and medical discoveries, paving paths that would not benefit only their futures, but for the futures of those across the globe. And that even applies to me too as an individual. I've gone through facing multitudes of emotional distress. Even people I know have gone through multitudes of emotional distress because of the fear of financial burdens that we have no control of. And yet, amidst the crisis, we find our state's priorities misplaced. The dreams of constructing a high-speed railway or modernize existing infrastructure captivates the imagination of some, while critical needs remain unaddressed for those suffering from student debt or facing barriers to higher education. So why are we spending $128 billion towards a railway project when that figure is actually the less than 1/4 of the amount to actually fund all the tuition of California students, which is only approximately about $40 billion. So to this question, it raises a question about our allocations of our resources. With a budget soaring up to 128 billion for the railway projects to building unneeded infrastructure and minimal allocations, only 22 billion for higher education. So we are forced to ask, could we not invest in the minds and the futures of education for the citizens of California? The total cost of providing tuition-free education at California is dwarfed by this figure. This is not merely a financial debate, it's a reflection of our values. What we're seeing here is that we're prioritizing things that of course, people may say that a substantial of voters voted for, but we have to also acknowledge that the votes do not count for 100% of all Californians to vote for that. Sometimes people don't even vote at all. So we're at prioritizing this railway project that's only voted by a set few instead of prioritizing stuff such as education for us and for others. And then we also have to deal with that. And then therefore, I advocate for reimagining for our priorities. Let us invest into free college education, addressing the medical shortages that threaten our health, and also alleviating the emotional stress that plagues the students of California, and also giving the individuals a right to pursue higher education. Let us make a choice that reflects the ability for individuals to fully forge their own paths without the barriers preventing them from doing so. And with that, I yield my time.
Very well said, Ethan. That was very good. Next, doing the con opening statement is myself, Trenton. All right. Well, good evening, fellow debaters. Today, as we know, we are gathered to discuss a topic that is very near and dear to each of us and our own legacies, college tuition. As we delve into this crucial issue, I stand before you in firm opposition to the resolution, be it resolved that tuition-free education at public colleges and universities be funded in California for all degree programs to ensure equitable access to higher education. Investing in higher education through tuition fees is not just a mere financial transaction. It's an investment in the future prosperity of individuals, communities, and our nation as a whole. First and foremost, college tuition is the gateway to opportunity. It provides individuals from all walks of life the chance to pursue their dreams, unlock their potential, and contribute meaningfully to society. By requiring students to pay tuition, we instill a sense of responsibility and commitment towards their education, fostering a culture of dedication and perseverance that'll serve them well beyond the classroom. In an article published by College Raptor, last updated on October 6, 2023, it states some students directly state that the realization of how much their family is paying drives them to perform well in college and actually attend their classes. If college were free, students might be more likely to skip classes, change their major, and study less. Furthermore, college tuition is essential for the sustainability of our educational institutions. Universities and college rely on tuition fees to maintain high academic standards, support faculty members, and provide cutting-edge resources and facilities for students. Without this crucial source of funding, our institutions would struggle to offer the quality education and diverse programs that are essential for preparing students for challenges in the modern workforce. In the previous article mentioned, it goes on to say, with potentially less money going into colleges and universities, schools may find it more difficult to offer top quality education opportunities for their students. College tuition fosters a sense of value and appreciation for education. When students and their families make a financial investment in their education, they are more likely to take their studies seriously, engage actively in their learning, and strive to be the best they can be. This sense of ownership and commitment benefits the individual student and enriches the entire academic community, promoting academic excellence and intellectual curiosity. In an article published by the American Institute for Economic Research by George Leaf, he quotes a study that was done by the New York Federal Reserve that states, "We find that although subsidizing tuition increases enrollment rates, it reduces student effort. This follows from the fact that a high subsidy, low tuition policy causes an increase in the percentage of less able and less highly motivated college students." College tuition plays a vital role in promoting equity and access to higher education. While the cost of tuition may seem prohibitive to some, it is essential to recognize that financial aid and scholarship programs exist to support students. According to a 2021 study conducted by Forbes on scholarship and grants, the National Scholarship Providers Association reports that over the last 10 years, the number of scholarships awarded has increased by over 45%. Yet an estimated $100 million in scholarship money still goes unawarded each year, primarily due to a lack of applicants. By investing in college tuition, we are investing in a more inclusive and diverse academic community where individuals from all backgrounds have the opportunity to thrive and succeed. In conclusion, college tuition is not just a financial burden. It's an investment in our society's future. By supporting college tuition, we empower individuals to reach their full potential, sustain our educational institutions, foster a culture of academic excellence, and promote equity and access to higher education for all. Let us honor the value of college tuition as a vital means to secure a brighter future for generations to come. It is for these reasons that I urge you to vote in opposition of the resolution. Thank you. Next is going to be Elizabeth, who is going to be doing the pro rebuttal.
Okay, first of all, I want to say how much I respect the opposition group for making a strong case against the resolution. But after additional deliberation, a few of these issues need to be clarified and addressed. First, Mr. Trenton makes the implication that free education may weaken student motivation and that tuition prices foster a sense of worth and commitment to study. I believe that the wider social advantages of accessible education are being ignored by this argument. When financial obstacles are removed, I believe that people could seek higher education more on the basis of their commitment and ability rather than the state of their finances. Furthermore, studies shows that nations with free public education systems frequently have greater rates of education completion and employment in the workforce. This argument fails to acknowledge the substantial challenges that tuition costs provide for a large number of prospective students, especially those from low-income backgrounds. Due to the fact that these students' access to higher education is restricted and inequality in wealth is maintained, the cost of tuition frequently acts as a barrier rather than a motivating factor. Free college tuition will remove this obstacle and guarantee that everyone, regardless of their income level, has an equal chance to pursue their academic goals and make significant contribution to the society. Second, college costs are said to be necessary in order to preserve the quality and diversity of degrees. It's true that tuition fees are the primary source of funding for colleges, but this dependence on tuition alone creates a dangerous scenarios, when access to education is dependent on one's financial condition. This reasoning also fails to take into account different funding structures and sources that could support educational institutions and guarantee that everyone has fair access to education, such as charitable institutions or government subsidies. Also, research indicates that other nations' tuition-free educational programs, such as the one in Germany, have improved accessibility and academic success rather than degrading educational quality. So free education or free college tuition cannot degrade the educational quality, sorry. Lastly, you mentioned that scholarships and financial aid programs are available to assist students, but they frequently do not address the structural injustices and tuition prices support. The fact that there are unawarded scholarship funds shows that there are structural obstacles and discrepancies in financial assistance access rather than, how should I put it, rather than a sign of sufficient support to support students. Now, moving forward, worsening inequalities in educational access is the fact that relying on scholarships puts the burden on individual students to manage challenging application procedures and fight for limited money. These obstacles can be removed and a more inclusive educational system can be established, giving everyone the chance to succeed, which is the free college tuition, because it's going to be sorry, it's going to be spread out evenly without looking at someone's financial background. Now, understanding the lasting impact of student debt is crucial, especially when college isn't free. Students graduating with a heavy debt load face significant challenges ahead. This debt can seriously affect their ability to make big purchases like buy a house, a car, or even to establish a good credit score because they cannot keep up with paying this loan amount that governments are giving out to students. This is seriously affecting us. Beyond that, the burden of repaying student loans can limit their ability to save money for important life events, like it's leading to a lower overall quality of life and trapping students in a cycle of financial insecurity. It leads to us having the haves and the haves not, and it puts both individuals and society at a risk in the long run. By advocating for tuition-free education, we can break this cycle of debt and ensure that everyone has the opportunity to pursue their dreams without the fear of financial burden or ruin. Now, tuition-free education isn't just about fairness, like Ethan mentioned. It's an investment in a brighter future for all, fostering upward mobility, economic prosperity, and a more equitable society for generations to come. Thank you.
Very good, Elizabeth. Thank you. Next, we have Lisa doing the con rebuttal.
All right. So here we go. Ethan, you speak very eloquently about choices. And I quote, choices that define who we are and what we value, end quote. If I'm not mistaken, having the ability to even have a choice at all is the basis of our amazing country. The Bill of Rights guarantees that every person has the right to personal autonomy and that the government shouldn't interfere with our personal choices. And why do I bring up the government, you ask? Because somebody has to pay for this free education. That person is all of the tax-paying citizens in this country. Free is never free. There is usually a catch somewhere. That fine print down at the bottom of the paper written in size 2 font, so small that you need a magnifying glass. Now, there are many countries that do offer free higher education for their citizens, but those citizens also pay the most in taxes than any other country. Everyone is always complaining about how high the taxes are in the US, and during every election season, that's all you hear about on TV and social media. Taxes remain to be one of the hot topics in every election campaign, and it will continue. It's because people are very passionate about their hard-earned money and that they want to fund and what they want to fund with that money, along with the values regarding the particular program in question. Just to give you some context and actual figures, according to PwC, which is PricewaterhouseCoopers, in January of 2024, they provide multinational tax and advisory services just for income tax. Norway pays 22%, not too bad. Finland up to 32.88%, plus an additional up to 44% for any worldwide money earned. Sweden pays 32% for municipal income tax, plus an additional 20% if you're on the higher tax bracket. Germany and France pay up to 45%, and France also pays an additional up to 4% for higher earnings. And Denmark pays a whopping 52.07%. All of this gets taken out of their paychecks before they even see it. Loans can be paid off eventually. Taxes will never end. And this doesn't take into account the cost of living in these countries as well. And as we all know, tourist countries always charge more for their products. Back to my original point of choice. Now that you know that college really isn't free, you also know that you no longer have a choice as to where your money goes. The government chooses for you. Whether you decide to go to college or not, you're paying for it regardless. If a family doesn't have much income, barely scraping to get by, who could really use that money to feed their kids, they don't get a choice. They will never see that money that they work so hard for. Another point you made, Ethan, is that the cost of education is a barrier to dreams, to potential, and an obstruction towards much needed medical professionals. I'd like to see the proof that this is the only reason why people don't enter into the medical field. Just last year, we had one of the largest healthcare strikes in US history. According to an article by CBS News in 2023, it states that 75,000 Kaiser employees throughout California, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington went on strike due to wages and benefits. People go into the healthcare system for the chance to save lives, and let's be honest, the paycheck. Doctors and surgeons make pretty good money, and I don't need to research that because that's common knowledge. A neurosurgeon can have their student loan debt paid off within a few years. And the mere fact that someone is willing to pay this kind of money for their education to save lives shows the kind of dedication and love that they have for the field. If they were able to get their education free of charge, who's to say that they're not entering the field just because they care about that paycheck? Just a rhetorical question, no need to answer. Would you feel secure about a neurosurgeon poking around your brainstem and spinal column, knowing that he may care more about the paycheck than he does about saving your life? He'll get paid regardless if you live or die. Personally, I would rather have someone who made that conscious time and effort to pay those kinds of costs and put themselves into that much debt working on my spinal cord versus anyone off the street who decided to take the same classes as you, but for free. Someone who stuck through the whole process, along with paying those tuition fees, shows the kind of dedication and genuine love for people as their driving force that fueled them through the process. Another point of yours, Ethan, that I would like to clarify about the allocation of billions to an abyssal railway project. According to California High-Speed Rail Authority in 2021, this high-speed railway that you're referring to went to vote by the California voters in 2008 as Proposition 1A, which was to allocate $9 billion for the planning and construction, $950 million to local high-speed rail connectivity projects under the oversight of the California Transportation Committee, and in 2017, another $2.6 billion was allocated for the Central Valley alone. This was a project voted by the people. If the people didn't want this railway, they would have voted no. It was being built because it was wanted and needed by the residents of California. Oh, and this project alone also created more than 12,900 jobs. I don't see that the ability to feed your kids and supply a home and food for them as a bad thing. Let's continue with the other points you made in your statement. You speak about how student loan debt causes emotional distress that plagues their entire educational journey at the level of having suicidal thoughts. This is another statement I would like to see the data on. You're saying that social, ethical, financial, previous life traumas have nothing to do with mental illness, not to mention the mere fact that anyone susceptible to acquiring anxiety and depression at any point in one's life simply from having a chemical imbalance in their brain. That all of this is caused by student loan debt. One doesn't have to have a reason to suffer from mental illness. I'm not discounting that student loans can cause stress in one's life, but so does being able to pay the mortgage, finding out that someone you love has cancer, among millions of other reasons one might suffer from anxiety and depression. You can't assume that having student loan debt equals anxiety and depression. I would like to conclude with one new additional thought that I would like you all to think about. I'll start it off with another rhetorical question. Again, no need to answer. Do you know anybody that has had a hard time looking for a job? Or have you been in the position to hire someone? There are usually two things that employers look for: education and experience. If you have the same education as everyone else, what sets you apart? Gaining a degree puts you at an advantage and in a different pool of applicants, which drastically reduces the number of competitors. If everyone now has a degree, you better have the experience to back it up. Do you know what else approving this resolution would do? It'll drop the significance of postgraduate degrees. Employers will start requiring a master's degree for certain fields since everyone will have a bachelor's. Do you want to lose out on the ability to choose where your money goes? Also, this wouldn't give you a hiring advantage because you would still be in the same playing field as everyone else now. In regards to finances, currently you have the option of budgeting for a school your own way, whether it's saving a ton of money going to junior college first, finishing your degree at a university. Or you could possibly go to school for free if you're financially qualified, since that's already part of the current education budget. And again, as I mentioned earlier, loans can be paid off. Taxes will never end. I say that we take advantage of living in a free country where we have a say where our money goes. And let's keep the educational system where it currently is so that degrees continue giving a hiring advantage. Plus, nobody wants higher taxes, do you? Thank you.
Very good, Lisa. Next, we have Hector doing the pro-crystallization.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to my fellow students who advocated for free college, and thank you to the students advocating for on the con side as well. I'm going to go over the 4 reasons I believe college should be tuition free in California, and I will be presenting evidence that supports my thoughts. The first reason is increased equality. When more people have access to free college education, they are better prepared for the jobs of the future, which can help to lessen the wealth gap in our society. Not all California students can afford college tuition, and the playing field is not always equal. Many bright minds in low-income households need the opportunity to live up to their potential. Affordability is an obstacle to attending college, and tuition-free college is a major step towards equality. Free education would allow all Californians to succeed. The second reason is a widened workforce. If more people could attend college for free, the workforce would expand, especially in sectors in need like healthcare. I can tell you from my own personal experience that hiring an individual with a college degree versus hiring somebody with just a high school diploma means for me as a supervisor that I had to dedicate at least 2 years to training individuals without a college degree to perform at the same level as someone with a college degree. The third reason is a reduced student debt. One of the major problems students face today is student debt. Tuition-free college means less student loan debt and more spending. More students have the goal of starting a family right after college. But if you come out of college with $100,000 in debt, it will be harder for you to afford a new house or car, and starting a new family will be a lot harder. Countries like Germany, Finland, and France offer free college to their citizens, which allows students there to focus on their studies rather than worrying about how they're going to pay for their loan student debt. The con side argued that college tuition fees are required to maintain high education standards, but according to Melanie Hansen in an article published February 15, 2021, titled Financial Aid Statistics, 84% of students get some kind of financial aid, which means only 16% of tuition fees goes to maintaining high education standards. And that means our current system is not working. Finally, an improved economy. Although advances in technology have increased workers' productivity, the demand for well-educated workforce has increased as well. When students graduate with high debt, it might take several years for them to manage that debt. On the other hand, if students graduate debt-free, they will spend their earnings buying a new house or a new car, and therefore boosting the economy. With more spending, there is an increased need for workers, creating a positive cycle activity, and that is why we are advocating for all Californians to have access to a free college education. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Wonderful, Hector. Almost said Hunter, sorry. Next we have Yanira. Am I saying that right?
Yes.
Perfect. Doing the con-crystallization.
Yeah. Good evening, everyone. I would like to take a moment to acknowledge all the hard work and research done by both sides of the debate. I know everyone brought in some very important arguments, some of which I would like to point out. To quickly recap and summarize, my team and I are opposing the resolution of having free college tuition in the state of California. Allowing students to pay college tuition establishes responsibility. It ensures the perseverance of institutions, along with the provision of essential resources to students, while also making students appreciate education. As mentioned in the opening statement, when students are aware of how much goes into the upbringing of their education, in this case, higher education, they tend to be more motivational and dedicated. It encourages them to do their best at school. Students also tend to be more appreciative of the education they are receiving. College tuition provides a higher quality education to students. It allows the education institutions to provide resources to students, facilities, and support to faculty members. College tuition also provides students with a wide range of diverse programs. If funding for these programs were to be removed, many of the programs would also be withdrawn. To address some of the concerns mentioned earlier in the rebuttal, more specifically the issue of not having enough resources to attend college, which was mentioned many times throughout the debate, there is financial aid provided by both the federal and state government available to those of a lower income. There are also many scholarships awarded to thousands of students each year. There is a difference between grants and scholarships, and to refer back to Trenton and according to the National Scholarship Providers Association, a lot of money designated for scholarship does go unawarded because of the small amount of people applying for them. There was also a recommendation made for college funding to rely on charitable contributions and government subsidies. Depending which type of college we might be referring to, whether it be California State Universities or Universities of California, other funding structures only make up a very small percentage. The Legislative Analyst Office of the California government published a spending plan on higher education, where it was stated that general funding make up from 45 to 60% of funding. Student tuition make up between 35 to 50%, and only 4 to 1% of funding come from other sources. Having tuition-free colleges will not necessarily free students of emotional distress or other mental health issues, because that regards many other factors which many times require professional help. If we were to have a free higher education, it would most likely mean higher taxes. Did we ever consider that perhaps would place many more in debt, including the state? To conclude, college tuition provides students with a high-quality education and establishes valuable principles to the students that will be used in future workplaces as well as in life. I highly encourage you all to keep the following in mind when making a decision. Thank you all for your time.
Wonderful, thank you. I think that is everyone. I think that concludes our lovely debate.
All right, thank you guys.